Hello and welcome to the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast with me, Errol, Lawson. If this is your first time joining us, we want to welcome you. It's great to have you with us today. The Rising Generation exists to inspire and equip Christian leaders from all walks of life, from all around the world, to fulfill their God-given potential. By hearing these interviews with established, internationally recognized leaders, we hope you'll be inspired to connect the dots between where you are now and where it is God has called you to be. Now, to receive notifications about future episodes, simply subscribe to our podcast show by either on iTunes if you're on Apple, or on Stitcher, the Stitcher app if you're on Android. You can find out how to do that just by going to our webpage at www.errollawson.com/podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with your friends, share it with your loved ones. Hopefully they will also benefit from the content. Guys, thanks for listening. Before we go into today's show, here's some news for you. Hey guys, how you doing? It's Errol here. Hope you're doing great today. Before we go into our interview today, I want to give you just a bit of a heads up on our Rising Generation campaign that started on the 1st of October. Now, if you're not aware already, we've been doing these interviews now. We've taken some of the nuggets from the interviews and put them into a fantastic book, a resource called The Rising Generation, which is an amazing resource for emerging leaders, established leaders that will help you to step into your biggest challenges and become the leader that God has designed you to be. Now, the way the campaign works is this. Our goal is to get 1,000 pre-orders of the book between now and the end of October, and all the profits from the campaign are going to go towards our work in Africa, in Ghana. We're working with young people and giving them leadership training and soft skills training and even more. And so for the last 15 years, I've been working as a leadership coach, a consultant, working in education and in business. You can check out my website for more information. I'm a John Maxwell trained coach, speaker, and trainer. My appeal to you today is this. I want to offer my services to you, to your church, to your business, to your organization, to you as an individual in return for your support for this campaign. Let me give you an example of some of the packages that I'm offering to you. If you were to pre-order 150 copies of the Rising Generation book for your team, for your organization, for your church, or for your business, in return, I would offer you firstly a 90-minute live keynote address on a leadership topic of your choice, along with a Q&A for your organization or team. I'd also offer you a one-day leadership workshop for your team or organization, again on a leadership topic of your choice. And also, in addition to that, give you a free half-day one-to-one or group coaching session, again for yourself as a leader or for your core team or for your wider team on a leadership topic of your choice, all in return for your contribution, which is a $5,000 contribution. You're going to get $8,900 worth of value for your investment, and all the profit goes to the work in Ghana. How awesome is that? And there's similar packages. There's so many offers I've got. Another option is the $1,500 package, which for your $1,500 contribution, you'll get 20 copies of the book for your team or organization. And also a one-day leadership workshop with myself, again for your team, your organization. I'll come in and train your team on a leadership topic of your choice. How amazing is that? So much value. And there are many more offers in line with your budget, what you're able to invest. I want to reach out to you guys. Go and check out the website to make this campaign a success. We really need your support. I'm banking on you. So please share this with your friends and help us to spread the word. We appreciate you. God bless you. Enjoy today's episode. Hello and welcome to the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast with myself, Errol Lawson, and our guests today are two wonderful ladies from an organization called Know Me, based in New York. The first is Diana Mao, who's the co-founder of Know Me and president. She's dedicated to economically and socially empowering survivors of human trafficking. She's experienced in governmental consulting, domestic and international economic development, social entrepreneurship, and microfinance. And with her today is Alissa Ayako Williams, who's also a co-founder over at Know Me. And Alissa is deeply passionate about women's empowerment, civil rights, and social justice. Her vocational calling was shaped by service opportunities with InterVarsity and Radical Living New York. These guys are amazing, amazing women. I'm excited to have them on the show today. And we're going to hear all about the work they're doing in Cambodia and in India. So stay tuned, guys. If you want their contact details, you can get them at the end of the show today. So without further ado, Diana and Alissa, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And I want you guys just to hear what they're up to, be inspired, be empowered, be lifted to see what's possible in this generation that you can get involved in as well, all right? So first of all, Diana and Alissa, please fill in any gaps, first of all, in your biography, and give us a glimpse into what you're up to in the world right now.
Yeah. So this is Diana. For me, really know me is what we're up to. It's our passion, and we're so excited. We started the organization very much as a volunteer network, both of us having a full-time job, and transitioned myself in 2012 full-time, and Alissa just transitioned last year. And so we're excited about creating in the next 5 years more than 100,000 jobs for survivors and women that are at risk of trafficking in Asia. And that's what we've been up to the past few years.
Wow.
Very focused, as well as some of our other community projects that we work on through our church.
Wow, that's awesome. Brilliant.
Yeah, so this is Alissa, and just to build on what Diana outlined, we've really found incredible traction here in New York City, where we're based. We've had a lot of incredible opportunities to speak to retailers who care about social impact and are cause oriented. And this has been really a launching pad as we've developed deeper relationships and really strong staffing in our 2 program field offices in India and Cambodia. So yeah, this has really monopolized our time and our hearts and our passions and our faith. And we've also just met some incredible people and some lifelong friends through this organization.
Awesome. Just can you give us a bit of an overview of what the organization does and what it stands for?
Yeah, absolutely. This is Diana. So in essence, we're an economic development agency for survivors and women at risk. The women that we work with have experienced extreme trauma, and many of whom make less than $1 a day. What we do is threefold. We provide them with direct training, building their skills, technical skills, and also soft skills, critical thinking, and really instilling self-worth and identity in them. And then the second level is we provide advanced training similar to what you would learn at a fashion school to women that are ready to take their skills to the next level, as well as some organizations in the not-for-profit world in urban areas to strengthen their ability to get more jobs and design higher quality products. And so we have a fashion incubator and design school in Phnom Penh.
Wow.
And third is what we do with retailers is we work with them to provide them with alternative sources in securing products that are made by women that we work with or by groups that really empower women. And so there's a growing trend of retailers and brands that are very interested in using their purchasing power for good. And so we're raising awareness, but also bridging the gap and connecting them directly.
And all right, in 2008, Diana and I had the privilege of meeting the namesake of our organization, an 8-year-old survivor of sex trafficking named Nomi. And it was just truly her resilience and her friendship that allowed us to see that she did not have to be defined by her past, but she could really be defined by her future.
I was going to ask you about that, but the whole Nomi, the name Nomi, and obviously just doing some research on you, came across that. Just tell us that story in some depth, if you will. Give us a picture of what went down.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2008, Diana and I went back to Cambodia to build on some research she had done with a microfinance institute. She was a fellow there. And we wanted to test our assumptions and really create a market-based solution to empower those most vulnerable. And so when we went back, we saw an opportunity to connect survivors and at risk to the marketplace. And what created this paradigm shift in our mind was really kind of understanding that this issue of human trafficking is not just about criminal networks and gangsters abducting children and women and young boys and men. But truly, it oftentimes starts domestically, and it's also oftentimes generational, and it's exacerbated by poverty and a lack of options. In fact, you're 4 times more likely to be trafficked by a family member than you are by a complete stranger.
Wow.
So we really saw an opportunity to strengthen families, particularly women and mothers as change makers, to be able to make alternative decisions for their daughters and for their respective communities. And we saw economic empowerment as the way to activate that. And then, this concept of know me is really twofold, or even threefold. It's about survivors being able to stand up and say, know me, know my story, and know my success.
That's great. That's awesome. Guys, as I listen to you guys and I hear the passion and the conviction you have for the cause, I ask myself, like, where did this come from? What stirred this in you? Like, how did this thing bubble up on the inside? Tell us, how did you transition from where you were beforehand then into what it is you're doing right now?
Yeah, for me, it's really, it started at a young age. I have a very faithful grandmother that prayed for me a lot and sent me on a missions trip in college to Egypt.
Wow.
And so when I was in Egypt, I lived in a garbage village for 2.5 months. And so there, I just saw a lot of poverty, children digging through trash, and just really, the dignity and self-agency was just stripped away from them. And so that just really made my heart break, but also made me realize that living in the United States, I had, come from a middle-class family, but I had so much. And so with that, as I was really digging more into the word, it's really our calling and it's really our responsibility. And his word says that to whom much is given, much is required. And so that was really ignited gradually more and more as I spent time overseas and then in Cambodia, witnessing children being brokered in front of my eyes just made me very upset. And I really felt like that fiery, righteous anger came from the Lord. And that was coupled through several dreams that I had about slavery. So I really felt like at a young age, God gave me this heart and this fiery passion for those that are literally in chains. And so that now has transpired into Know Me Network.
Wow. And Alissa, how did you know you were called to this?
That's a wonderful question, and it has been a journey that has lasted most of my young adult life, and it's not over yet. When I was in undergrad, I had the opportunity to attend a missions conference called Urbana that was hosted. It's hosted every 3 years by InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, and they really call students not only into their vocation but also into changing the world and sharing the gospel of Christ with the nations. And it was there that I heard about trafficking for the first time.
Okay.
And I have since been so consistently inspired by the interplay of Christ's truth in the gospel and this call to social justice. And so I really, over the years, I've had the opportunity to develop friendships with people from lots of different varieties of walks of life and different ethnicities, cultures, religions. And as I've continued to explore my faith, I've really developed a sense of God's desire to draw all peoples to Him, and I've really been able to gain perspective of how He wants to kind of leverage this next generation, and particularly the youth, the next generation youth, to solve major world issues. And so I've been able to be mentored by some incredibly strong people. I think mentorships have been turnkey in my development, and the knowledge of also getting to know somebody's story more fully, and not just keeping a relationship superficial. So those things have allowed this cause to become very real to me, and has continued to develop a passion for creating freedom in different spheres.
It's great. And just for those listening, I'm just hearing the importance of, exposure. I love what Diana said about being sent on a mission at a young age and seeing that, other sides of life, if you like, and other people's stories.
Are you seriously fired up about growing as a leader in business or church-based ministry? Are you feeling somewhat frustrated about not having realized your full potential in what you've been called to do? Could you do with someone to help you get some extra clarity, or to be a sounding board for your plans and ideas? Great athletes have coaches, so do great leaders. The right leadership coach for you will result in an increased sense of clarity, direction, and purpose, dramatically increasing the results you achieve. If you're ready to step up, contact Errol to book a free, no-obligation introductory coaching session and see whether Errol is the right coach for you. Errol takes the lessons learned from his own leadership journey and from his extensive research to help leaders and entrepreneurs to step into their biggest challenges and rise to their next level. Email admin@errollawson.com right now to schedule your call.
What would you guys say to a leader, maybe an emerging or established leader that's listening right now, thinking to themselves, how do I, is this what God wants me to do? Is this what I'm called to do as well? Speak to them, if you will. How should they respond?
Yeah, I would say the journey for me, the first step was to pray. I mean, I never signed up to start a nonprofit. In fact, it wasn't a deep desire of mine to start a nonprofit. I had a deep desire to see people free, and to see children free. But it's sort of like, the prophet that like a Jonah situation where you're like, are you sure? I'm not sure I'm equipped. I don't want to go there. It's a dark place to go. So I think I started really, how Alissa and I met was coming back from Cambodia. I just started by gathering friends to pray. And so a friend of a friend brought Alissa to my prayer meeting. At the time, I was still in grad school, and I had a desire to do something, but I really needed the Lord and the Holy Spirit to move. And so that was a place that really incubated this desire that led to Know Me Network. And the first step, I would say, if you're wrestling, it's a good thing. Some are called to go, some are called to send. And through that process, that tension, the Lord really showed me that I'm the one that's called to lead and to go.
And just to build on what Diana's saying, I think also in prayer, I think faithfully writing down the ways that God has been faithful in your life to you can demonstrate the milestones that He has laid out in your life, and shows that He has been faithful from the beginning of time. He was faithful before and during, and in the future He will continue to be faithful. And so being able to reflect on the key moments where you've encountered trials, but then having a written record, a journal, someplace where you're able to say, God met me in this time of need. And in fact, he surpassed the desires of my heart. I think as he changes our heart, he allows us to see the bigger picture and gain perspective on how he's moving.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Thank you. Thank you both so much for that. Thank you. So on your journey so far, building Know Me and, traveling and what have you, what's been your biggest challenge in leadership so far?
That's a good question.
I think one challenge that constantly persists is, we truly want to be able to fulfill our word. And I think so oftentimes when we as privileged Westerners enter into communities in developing countries, it's easy to make a lot of promises. And sometimes it's challenging to actually deliver on those promises. So I think when we enter those communities, doing it with utmost respect and understanding that it really takes time to build trust, but you can break trust so easily, and how valuable trust is in being able to change systems of oppression. And so I think one of our biggest challenges as leaders is continuing to really build trust in our relationships with those who are in our programs and on the ground, and to demonstrate a long-term commitment to seeing their lives transformed, even when there are serious security concerns and challenges with cross-cultural challenges, for us to continue to stay steadfast. It's key.
Yeah, I would definitely say there are a lot of challenges on the ground, lack of infrastructure. A lot of the women have major barriers and, still are wrestling through issues. And it's really, and we've had, unfortunately, a few deaths. So it's really how to keep your heart strong in the midst of all of these fires that emerge in the world of anti-trafficking, because there are so many. And the only way for us, for me and Alissa can speak for, has been really to ground our faith and to not look at outcomes sometimes, and to look at the process of what the Lord's doing and how he's making all things new.
Can you give us a specific example maybe of when I've experienced one of those challenges?
Yeah. Well, 2 years ago, we had a trainee's daughter. Unfortunately, she was murdered, and there's a suspect that she was also raped. And so a trainee, one of our trainees.
From America or from?
Oh, from India, from India. So that is someone that we knew very well, and her daughter was 10 years old. And so that was very hard for us, experiencing loss as a team, and that really grieved us. And for me personally, it just made me very sad that would happen, and what could have been done to prevent it. Unfortunately, nothing could have been done. There's just a lot of violence in those communities. So
what are some of the lessons that you've learned from these kind of challenging leadership experiences?
Yeah. Well, on a personal note, it's really important to surround yourself with people that can encourage you. And those moments of darkness or loss can really pray for you and strengthen your spirit. But on the ground, we have, the situation was not at our site. It was actually in their home. And so this is the community. We really find the need to link with local law enforcement, which we have security in place. Also involve some of our partners that are in India that have experience with security and how to strengthen the safety of our women and our program team there. So on both sides, I feel that it's so important at the core to continue and to continue the fight. It's a journey, and to know that there are people that are standing with you in these moments of loss.
It's great. It's great. And Alissa, any lessons that you've learned from those challenges?
I think I've learned the beauty of resilience, of the human heart. And I think, we have to, in the midst of darkness, we have to continue to provide hope, and we have to continue to provide, extend friendship. And also, again, I can't underestimate the power of showing up and being present again and again and again, because if somebody, a loved one or somebody who is in your training program who, you absolutely adore, as Diana mentioned, when they go through something as challenging as the loss of a child, sometimes the process of healing takes a long time, and you have to be willing to continue to show up with that person and be present in their grief and not rush them through that process, but demonstrate to them that there is light, and indeed that new life oftentimes comes from death. That new life oftentimes is only able to grow from death. And I love in the Bible how it speaks to this idea of the seed, the grain of wheat dying before, in the ground before an entire field of wheat can be grown. And so it's these small challenges where we strengthen our heart and we lean on those who are around us to learn what it takes to go the distance.
That's great. So can I ask you now that at this stage in the journey, what does success look like? How do you define success now?
Yeah, I think for me, success is, for us, we have, very ambitious goals to impact hundreds of thousands of lives. For me, I already feel like we've achieved great success with seeing Nomi's life transformed, with seeing the lives of women that we've already served in India and Cambodia transformed, for them to know their full identity and their worth is not in which caste they belong to, which religion they belong to, what's the color of their skin, or their last name, but it's really finding value. And our approach is really through the love of Christ, loving them, meeting them where they're at, investing in them, teaching them, and through that they've experienced just great transformation and are able to even advocate for other women. So ideally, we won't exist anymore in northern India in 10 years. And communities that we've touched, that we've worked with, are doing it themselves. And we're seeing that happen in northern India. So that gives me just great, I'm just very proud to see people that were told they're worthless and were treated as if they were animals, now being lifted and lifting up others.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I would just agree. I think success is truly empowering individuals to empower themselves. And in addition, I think continued success will be able to also play a role in really creating transparent supply chains that encircle the entire globe, so that consumers can purchase with power and say, I do not want to consume a product that enslaves a person around the globe. I want my choice of what I wear, what I eat and drink, and the products I buy, the technology I buy, to able to lift people up instead of oppress them. And so there's a vision. We want to be leaders alongside retailers and consumers to allow consumers to know not only how their product was made, but also by whom.
That's great.
So to make those who are invisible visible.
It's great, guys. You know, a bit of a quick fire round now, right? I'm going to just dig in a little bit into your personal lives, a little bit, or personal journeys. Question for you both, all right? Here we go. So John Maxwell said that the secrets to success are hidden in your daily routine. Diana, first of all, typically speaking, what do the first 90 minutes of your day look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the typical 90 minutes is spent running. So I run in the park in the morning, and that's usually my time when I also pray. So I'm running and praying, and then when I get back to my apartment, I dig into the Word, or sometimes I dig into the Word first, and then I go running. So that's usually my first 90 minutes.
Cool. Alissa?
Yeah, I'm very auditory. So I'm very impacted by sound, and I process through listening. So the first portion of my day is always spent blasting worship music and also listening to NPR.
Cool. What's NPR? Sorry, I don't know. Is it an American thing?
Oh yeah, National Public Radio. It's a great source of news and politics and information.
Cool. Okay, back to Dana. Dana, what other key habits, Diana, what other key habits have contributed towards your success?
What are the key habits that contributed? Yeah. Is that the question? Yes. I would say the key the key kind of the words that are coming to my mind is persistence. And I've been told that I never take no for an answer. So that has helped definitely. And being still is something. The third.
Great. Alissa, same question to you.
Same question. In terms of, can you restate it one more time?
What are the key habits that have contributed towards your success?
Key habits. That's great. I always believe those who I'm supervising or managing are more talented than I am. And believing that there's always room for the next person to run this organization to walk in the door and take us to that next level. Wow. So holding things lightly and with open hands.
That's great. Love that. It's great. Awesome. All right, next question. Diana, what's your biggest weakness as a leader?
I think my biggest weakness is boundaries. I tend to go full force, and I feel like the past 7 years I've been in startup mode, and it has sucked just a lot of time, and it's kind of caught up to me in terms of realizing friendships, relationships have been put on the back burner, and so my weakness is really boundaries of work and really resting in the Lord more. And so just recently I took a sabbatical for a month, which was really great and helped me to jumpstart really having that set apart time for the Lord, for family, and for friends.
And your biggest strength?
My biggest strength is my ability just to connect with people and bring them into whatever their skill sets are, whatever assets they have or lack of assets. There's always something that can be done, and I'm really good at just plugging people in and creating these partnerships, whether formal or informal.
Awesome. And Alissa, what's your biggest weakness as a leader?
I think biggest weakness, probably there's a book that I'm reading right now called The Good and Beautiful God by Bryan Smith, James Bryan Smith, and he talks about how the dominant narrative of our world, of our current culture, is a narrative of performance. And so I'm constantly battling and struggling to operate in Christ's narrative of grace, which is truly the narrative in the Bible that should be driving all of our decisions. So really remembering and pressing into this concept of grace and not performance.
It's good. It's good. And your biggest strength?
Probably the fact that I'm very positive all the time. I tend to always see the world through rose-colored glasses.
Okay, cool. And then back to Diana again. Diana, at the beginning of your leadership journey, what, if anything, was holding you back from going into leadership?
Yeah, I would say my white picket fence. When I was in college, I had a mentor, discipler, who knew all about me and all my flaws, all my strengths, and all my desires. And she said something to me that really still kind of haunts me today. She's like, I don't see you in a white picket fence. I don't see you in a necessarily stable environment. I see you traveling the world, helping people. And at that moment in college, I was on the track of, I was studying economics, accounting, I was going into corporate. So that really shook me. And the comfort of having a home, having children, having, the typical status quo of what a Christian, 30-something-year-old should be doing is something that I know that, kept me from stepping in full force.
Wow. And Alissa, thank you, Diana. Alissa, same question to you. What was holding you back, if anything, from going into leadership?
I think oftentimes my own self-doubts are the biggest thing that have held me back. My background is actually in arts management, specifically in research and policy for the arts. And the feeling that those skill sets would be transferable to a startup, a vital startup organization working in international development, and my role as operations chief operating officer, that was really challenging, but it really required a paradigm shift for me again to realize that sometimes we're called into things and God will do the equipping. And so I think it has more to do with where our hearts are and less to do about whether or not we know a textbook answer for a solution. It's more about critical thinking and having the stamina to deliver instead of thinking that you have to look perfect or polished at first glance.
It's brilliant. Thank you, guys. Thank you. And let me ask you both. If you could tell me who has been your most significant mentor in your leadership journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say most significant is my discipler and mentor in college. We started off just meeting for prayer and Bible study, and then just recently I saw her in Utah. And so she, definitely has done a lot in the world of programming and, starting her own consulting business. But most importantly, what's unique about her is she has a really close walk with the Lord, praying, seeking Him. And that's really something that I feel like every leader, from my perspective, that's really helped me in my journey of leadership is praying and hearing from God. So
it's great.
Immediately pops to mind.
It's great. Alissa?
Sure. Actually, just recently, I was put in touch through one of our incredible board members and mutual friends with an individual who is a wicked facilitator and a strategist with a background in technology, but also with such a servant leader's heart. And so this individual recently has been coaching me through some really interesting leadership opportunities, learning personality types and tendencies like Myers-Briggs personality type indicators, learning different key management styles, like the book, The 1 Minute Manager. These kinds of tactical resources have been provided through this mentor. And then beyond that, just really demonstrating what it is to go above and beyond for somebody out of a place of friendship and grace, and not out of a place of feeling like it's a burden to offer mentorship and friendship. So this individual has been fantastic.
Let me dig a little bit deeper into both of your relationships, if that's okay. I want to ask you both, what is the best single piece of advice you've received from those individuals?
I think I would say that there's a lot of advice and wisdom. And situationally, I draw upon my mentor's wisdom. But more than that, it's just really been encouragement. It's been those moments of doubt when I was like, well, I don't know if I should quit my job. Well, I don't know if I should continue. It's those moments when my mentor has showed up and has been present and has spoken truth and wisdom in those situations. So I can't recall right now a single piece of advice, but it's just the consistency of being there, being present, and being that voice of truth.
That's good.
Yeah, the single most powerful thing that I've experienced in my work today has been, can I pray for you? and then the ability to follow through it and really pray for me in the moment, but then also be a prayer covering when Diana and I are in the field or on the go.
That's great.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing that I just am recalling right now is a quote actually from the Bible. So it's not really her words per se, but perfect love casts out fear. And so I think for us, there's so many reasons why we could potentially be operating in fear. And being a startup, sometimes you look at your cash flow and you're like, oh my gosh. And so really operating in love and fully receiving the love, but also giving it has set us free from that fear. There are moments, but that's what comes to mind immediately, what she told me.
That's great. Fantastic. We're almost done, ladies. We're almost done. Let me ask you guys, what's the one thing you're most fired up about right now?
Yeah, I'm most fired up at starting the construction of our training and innovation center in India. So we just acquired land there, and we're getting ready to start construction. Wow. So very excited about seeing a building and really our ability to serve thousands more women in that region.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Congratulations. Excellent. Alissa?
Thank you.
And I'm really excited about the curriculum that we've been developing over the last 8 to 9 years. We are moving forward with copywriting that and working on an institute model where we disseminate that curriculum through cohorts of nonprofits that also want to empower their specific populations that they serve. So I'm really excited about being able to scale our work and be able to see even greater impact through partnership.
Awesome, guys. And 2 more questions. First of all, is there a book or a resource you recommend to an emerging leader or leader that's listening right now, or entrepreneur that's listening right now?
Yeah, I'm recently read the book Let's Have Lunch Together, and it's great for leaders, being able to share and communicate their work. And it's a book that really gives kind of, the key factors in building strong relationships. Because in the world of business or not-for-profit, relationships are so critical. And so this book is really just tactical, but also a lot of stories from the author that tells his journey as a not-for-profit leader.
That's great.
And for me, the book 1000 Wells by Jenna Lee Nardella really speaks to the need for humility, especially for those of us who are millennials and who desire to save the world. She really speaks about how critical it is to learn to love the world and not to save it. So I would highlight that read.
Love that thought. Love the world and not save it. Wow. And guys, how do we find out more about you? How does someone get in touch with you? How do they kind of support or contribute towards your work?
Yeah, so our website is just NOMI, N-O-M-I, network.org. And we're reachable. Our contact information is on the website as well. So if listeners want to get involved or support or just need to get in touch with us, that's a great starting point.
I would also recommend that your listeners follow our blog called I Am Free, which highlights a socially sustainable and conscious brand each Friday and kind of speaks to the power of purchasing not just for cause, but for impact for those most vulnerable.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Everyone listening, go and check out the notes on this podcast page, the show notes, for information on the book recommendations. You'll find those there. You'll find links to the websites, to the blog pages. You can get connected and get plugged in, find out more, send some emails. These guys will be happy to have a chat with you, advise you, guide you, connect you if they can. Can people come out to and sort of volunteer on your projects abroad?
Yeah, we have a vetting process. And so if those that are interested to volunteer, definitely reach out to us and we could start that process.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for your incredible heart.
Yes, thank you.
So inspired by the work you're doing, and thank you for just bringing the ins and outs of leadership to so many future leaders around the world.
Yes.
Thank you again for joining us today on the Rising Generation Leadership Podcast. I pray you've been inspired, you've been lifted, you've been encouraged to take your personal leadership to the next level. We really encourage you guys to just take action, make it happen, do something, start somewhere, go out and change the world in some way, big or small. Guys, if you've enjoyed the podcast today, please share with your friends, share with your loved ones, your colleagues, someone out there you think might benefit from hearing this great content. And if you want some more questions answering, you got a question, email me, Errol at errollawson.com. Or if you want a free 30 to 45 minute coaching session with myself around a leadership challenge or issue you're working on in your business, your church, or in your organization, please feel free to email me right away. We'll get you booked in. It's Errol at errollawson.com. Thank you again for listening. Go to our iTunes page, check it out, check out the previous episodes. Give us a nice review, that would be awesome. Really appreciate if you could do that for us. We really appreciate you just for being here and listening. Thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Rising Generation.